So I think really, we think that from the sell side, it's about transparency and about pricing. From the buy side, it's obviously about transparency and pricing. So both agents in any transaction want to understand what they're getting and how much they're paying for it. And when you look at it through that lens, it actually becomes pretty simple. Publishers want to make sure that they're receiving fair compensation for access to their media, and they want to make sure they understand who's buying it and what they're paying for it. On the flip side of that, agencies and brand marketers want to understand what they're getting and how much they're really paying for it. And so I think this kind of this delineation between public marketplaces and private marketplaces is sometimes a little artificial. There's a lot more kind of granular complexity in there than that very broad categorization really captures. It's really about, do both parties in the transaction understand what they're getting and how much they're paying, or who they're selling to and how much they're selling for. And I think that there are a whole bunch of very granular features and functionalities that either DSPs or SSPs can provide to either party within that transaction that enable them to get that level of insight and that level of control. And at what level that becomes a public marketplace versus a private marketplace, I think it's a little bit of an arbitrary distinction that doesn't really capture the real nuance behind that delineation. I think what's important is making sure that we give both publishers and buyers the tools they need to understand what they're buying, who from, for how much. And that's really what we're driving towards, is making sure that everyone has the right tools, the right level of functionality, and the right level of flexibility to control who they're doing business with and how much they're getting paid. So I think there's always going to be a part in the marketplace for real-time bidded media. That said, I think programmatic upfronts and programmatic guarantees are also a very, very important part of the mix. The way we're really viewing it is it's kind of horses for courses. There are some companies and some media outlets who want to be able to sell on an upfront basis. They want to be able to understand exactly in a pre-authorized, pre-committed way who's going to buy their media and how much for. And where there is a significant imbalance between supply and demand, allowing certain key strategic buyers to be able to buy that media on an upfront basis is obviously important. For certain publishers that have real scale, where perhaps they have more supply than they have demand, being able to sell on a real-time basis, on an ad hoc basis, and allow people to bring in data to be able to value every individual media opportunity on its own merit. So maybe be able to buy more on an audience basis than on a media basis. Real-time is much more important. I think, again, the market is evolving where both these methods, both real-time and programmatic upfronts, are going to be a big part of the mix. I think it really depends on what type of publisher you're talking to and what types of buyers you're talking to. So again, I think both are important. I think to try and say that one is going to win out over the other it doesn't really capture the nuance.